Welcome to Jiu-Jitsu, where we use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a lens for discipline, resilience, and growth on and off the mats. I'm Kevin Pinnell. Let's get to work. Jiu-Jitsu Episode 4, My Opponent is My Teacher. Quote, my opponent is my teacher, my ego is my enemy. End quote, Renzo Gracie. Recently, a training partner caught me with a north-south choke. The funny part is that I knew it was coming. He likes that choke, usually shows up when I'm trying to escape side control, going out the back, and I still walked right into it. Moments like this remind me how honest Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is. Before getting into this lesson, I want to acknowledge how fortunate I am to train where I train. I train at Team Mannon BJJ in Blacksburg, led by Professor Tim Mannon. Tim earned his black belt directly from Renzo Gracie, who the quote is from I'm talking about today, one of the greatest teachers, fighters, grapplers in history of the art. And that lineage matters because the mindset of humility, learning, and constant improvement is built into the culture of our gym. Every class is full of people who are there to get better and help each other do the same. That's why this quote from Renzo Gracie resonates so much with me. My opponent is my teacher. My ego is my enemy. When I first started training, I didn't really understand what a round was supposed to be like, right? Like a lot of people had heard about jiu-jitsu from podcasts, from watching UFC fights when the art was dominating. So I assumed every round had one objective, submit the other person. Over time, you learn training has layers. Warm-up rounds are meant to flow. You move, experiment, work techniques. What you call walking speed, we'll say. Both people give each other space, right, to try things. And then live rounds are a bit different, right? The objective is still submission, but when you're rolling with someone who knows as much as you are or more, it becomes something else entirely, a full contact chess match. And the issue is ego shows up in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on day one for a lot of people. Some students walk in humble and curious, others walk in determined to prove something. The ones driven by ego are often roll very hard immediately, even in warm-up rounds. They believe intensity alone will solve the problem. Then they run out of gas. They get taken down, passed, controlled, submitted. Their faces show frustration, anger, sometimes embarrassment. I've been there, we all have. Even years into training, ego still shows up. During live rounds, I've caught myself focusing on not getting tapped, especially when rolling with someone around my skill level or just above, where it becomes a proving ground. How's my jiu-jitsu today? Is my mind present or scattered? Competition itself is not the problem. Competition can be healthy. It pushes people to sharpen their skills. You see it in the gym, at tournaments, and at the workplace, right? But too much self-focus changes that dynamic. It can lead to envy, selfishness, and isolation. Instead of asking whether we won the round, the better question becomes whether we learned something from it. Interestingly, research and learning science supports this idea, right? A concept known as productive failure shows that people often learn more when they struggle before mastering a solution. Studies in skill development have found that people who attempt difficult problems and fail initially often perform better later because the struggle forces deeper understanding. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does this constantly. Every sweep you miss, every escape you fail, every submission that catches you becomes immediate feedback. So what's the solution? Well, there's no solution for all of jiu-jitsu, but this is where Renzo Gracie's quote comes in. My opponent is my teacher, my ego is my enemy. Whether you're rolling with someone in your home academy, visiting another gym, or competing somewhere new, your opponent will expose both your strengths and your weaknesses. Right? So if we approach training with ego, we're going to miss that lesson. And it's easy to do. If we approach training with curiosity, improvement happens naturally. Looking back, I've tried to keep that mindset through most of my training. As my blue belt got older and a bit saltier, I began to appreciate the value of learning from the same training partners over time. You grow with them. You grow together as a team. During warm-up rounds, I pay attention to my partner's intensity and I match it. If they want to flow, we'll flow. If they ramp up the pace, I adjust. Sometimes we work deliberately through positions, then move towards submission, and I focus on escaping or reversing the position. Each round becomes kind of a small experiment. Psychologists describe something called the zone of proximal development. The idea is simple. People improve fastest when working with someone slightly more skilled than they are. That is exactly what happens in a good jiu-jitsu academy. White belts learn from blue belts learn from purple belts learn from brown and black belts. The room itself becomes the teaching system. One of the people who teaches me every class is another purple belt in his 50s. Shout out Wes. I'll make some athletic movement and think I'm advancing position, then suddenly he stops everything and ends up in a superior position. Not every round, but often enough. Another example is armbar defense. My armbar defense improved mostly because I kept getting armbarred. Over time, you start feeling the setup earlier. You recognize the danger before the arm is fully isolated and extended. Of course, I still get caught, but I escape more often now because I recognize what is happening sooner. Curiosity becomes essential. Ask questions when the instructor opens the floor. Ask the person who just tapped you how they set it up. Learning from losing and losing is learning are part of maturing in jiu-jitsu. Sports psychology research also shows that athletes with a learning-oriented mindset tend to outperform those focused primarily on winning. The learning mindset keeps people adapting and improving. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rewards that mindset. So if you're not training, how do you apply this? Right? This lesson to me applies far beyond the mats. Years ago, after our incident management team led planning and operations for a major international event, a mentor and friend of mine gave me feedback that stuck with me. He told me that I was often good and often right, but not always, and he suggested I could benefit from listening more to the people around me. Conversation happened more than a decade ago, and it still stays with me. None of us are too experienced to learn from others. In jiu-jitsu, the cycle is simple. Tap, learn, reset. The same cycle appears in public safety and project management. Teams plan and execute, succeed or struggle, capture lessons learned, and then try again. Mistakes become information. On difficult days in jiu-jitsu, when you're getting crushed and tapped repeatedly, that perspective can be hard to remember in the moment. Sometimes it takes the cold plunge or the drive home before the lesson sinks in, but eventually it does. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is one of the most effective humility courses I've ever experienced. At 52, I can hold my own on the mats. At the same time, there are training partners younger and older who can make me feel like a brand new white belt. The same dynamic exists in professional life. When I'm leading programs and project teams, I remind myself to pause, listen carefully, ask good questions, then respond. Longevity in jiu-jitsu requires the mindset of a student. Each class introduces techniques, we practice them, we test them during live rounds, then we return and build on them the next class. For someone thinking about trying jiu-jitsu for the first time, I offer a simple perspective. Accept that you do not know how to grapple. Keep your ears open and ask for help, and keep showing up. Because over time, you begin to understand what Renzo Gracie meant. Your opponent is not the problem, your opponent is the teacher. Breathe, frame, keep showing up, and survive. Go to peopleprocessprogress.com for more information about the Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and to get some planning tips, etc., follow me on X and Instagram at PannellKG, PannellKG. I appreciate your time. Check out the YouTube channel People Process Progress for my videos that go along with this podcast, which are typically brief after-action reports from jiu-jitsu classes that I've been in. Godspeed, y'all. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe wherever you listen. Leave a review if you're willing. It helps more than you think. Follow me on X and Instagram at PannellKG, PannellKG. For more on leadership, life, and the long game, visit peopleprocessprogress.com. Until next time, breathe, frame, keep showing up, and survive.